Hello everyone and welcome along to another episode of the Supercup show here on SimNews.TV, where we take a look at the goings on of the GPVWC Supercup and talk about the race that has just gone by. I'm Josh Anderson as ever, and alongside me is none other than the fantastic team boss and disciplinary head himself, Sam Jones.
Yes, hello Josh, hello guys at home, and good to be back once again. We saw another fantastic round, so certainly one worth tuning into for the rest of this episode.
Yep, of course, Hungary was the scene of the latest Supercup battles at the Hungaroring, a track which, is kind of a bit of a Marmite track. It's loved by some, hated by others, but one thing is for certain, it produced a fantastic qualifying session because there was drama in the middle of it, wasn't there, Sam?
Yeah, absolute chaos all around. Plenty of lap times going in, and all of a sudden the heavens just opened and the rain came pouring down right at the time when everyone really wanted to get their best and final lap times in. So that pretty much set the grid in stone there and then as soon as the water hit the track, but it certainly helped to just spice things up a little bit more for the races to come.
Yeah, it did. It really helped spice it up. Obviously, the drivers effectively in a shortened qualifying session didn't have as many laps as they would like. Maybe if they didn't see it coming, they wouldn't have prepared for it. So they wouldn't have gotten out straight away and got the fastest lap done. But it did certainly help Alex Siebel, who got pole position for Multiforce GP. 1:22.695 was his qualifying time. And Tobias Politek is 81 hundredths behind him. That is just 0.081 of a second. As we keep saying, Sam, such a close field in Supercup, and Siebel and Politek, tiny gap proving it.
Yeah, Politics was back on form again in Hungary, and certainly making a good job of it by getting so close to that pole position. But as per usual, it's just a little bit that you need to get that pole. It doesn't take much. It's all about that perfect lap, and it's a difficult one around Hungary with all those long, very demanding corners.
Yeah, it is very difficult, and Wupke Hooks and Dino Paolini will be happy with third and fourth then, so a second row lockout for Meserick Racing, and Dennis Jordan and Jeffrey Fournier behind him, fifth and sixth, so, more of the same again. We're seeing these names crop up a lot at the top of the timesheets.
Yeah, it's again the consistent drivers. Both the Meserick drivers have been so consistent this year, and that's really they're really reaping the benefits of that. And again, Jordan, another fantastically consistent driver. Fournier, of course, is another driver who's excelled at certain times this year and continuing to pump in the good performances.
Yeah, Jordan and Fournier will be very pleased with those qualifying results. You imagine, of course, Fournier really hitting form in Supercup at the moment. So obviously, from any position on the grid, he could be a threat. And Stefan Ruhl and Boy Milan behind as well. Deltec and TG, all within half a second of Siebel's time. This is still very close stuff. Ruhl 7th, Milan 8th, both going to be pleased with that. Then we have Wright Kilk in 9th place for Multiforce GP. Now, obviously, a stand in there at Multiforce. But yeah, Wright Kilk coming back after Russia and getting a 9th. Really going to put his spirits up.
Yeah, great result, and for a driver that's been out of the car for so long and only had a little bit of experience so far this season back in Russia, like you said, it's a great performance by him just to get into the top 10. That within just over half a second, the leader as well. That's nothing to be sniffed at, so he should be very pleased with what he's did in the qualifying session to that point.
Yeah, and of course, behind Wright Kilk, Chris Shepherd coming back for Hinds Motorsport in 10th place. So, another very impressive session there from Shepherd. Really starting to cement himself as a Supercup candidate. And obviously, after the summer break, perhaps he'll be thinking a more long-term Supercup drive could be in his grasp, perhaps. But he'll certainly be under threat from the likes of Edgar Ruiz and Dawei Tapper. 11th and 12th, they qualified for TG and Zederik. Then it was Antonio Hranovic in 13th in Drake, and 14th for Jason Muscat in the second Zederik car. So, Hranovic, Muscat perhaps further down the order than they might have liked.
Yeah, definitely for Muscat, that's not a great result for him, and he could have really done with a good result there in qualifying to help boost him into the race after having a bit of a struggle back in Britain last time out. He really needed to rebound this time, and that wasn't the best of starts for him.
Do you think maybe that the problems they had in Britain perhaps really affected his pace going into this round?
Potentially, could maybe lost a bit of motivation, or maybe it's just the time of year that he doesn't have the time to get the practice in. Who knows? But certainly it hasn't helped his confidence whatsoever from that round in Britain where he tumbled down the driver standings. And after qualifying here, I'm sure he wasn't feeling too pleased with himself either.
Probably wasn't feeling very happy with 14th, and well, behind him was Argenis Riera in the RTS car in 15th place, then Tom van der Voort in the Drake in 16th place. Rob Mason took 17th place for Epic Racing, then Michael Barnard 18th for ST Racing, and well, Michael Barnard had been an interesting factor, of course. Again, it was like Ride Kilk, he only did one round and now he's back.
Yeah, again, another driver that's popped in, and of course, it's just good to see an ST driver back on the grid again after they missed out in Britain. They didn't manage to field a car at all, so at least they got one driver onto the grid this time, and not too bad of a job either for him.
Yeah, didn't do too bad in 18th, Michael, and Wesley Stefano behind in the Hinds, second Hinds car, so they're getting two cars onto the grid this race, which is good, and obviously 19th place for Stefano, followed by Edward Batala in the 20th place RTS car, and Matt Strand running out the field for Satellite Racing, and Batala will be feeling quite annoyed actually with such a low result, given he's had some great results this season.
Yep, a bit of a poor one for him really to start that far down, and well, he'd just be hoping that after a result like that, that he could turn it around in the race and, from starting so far down the grid. But at least it wasn't, 25 or 26, as the field was slightly smaller this time.
Yeah, you look at Barnard, Stefano, Batala, Strand, they're all significantly off the cars, sort of in their cluster, so perhaps they didn't gauge the rain very well.
Yeah, potentially they just didn't get clean laps in early on, and when it came down to it, their final run was well, aborted or just impossible to do because of the level of water that came down, and it came down so quickly as well. I'm sure a lot of the drivers in the field got caught out.
And of course, you mentioned the smaller field. Crucially, we didn't have any Cosmos Psyche cars this race. We've gone from 2 to 1 to 0. They didn't show up at all this race. What's going on there?
It doesn't look good, does it? I think it's a case of just struggling to get the drivers in to actually compete, and maybe there's no drivers willing to move up from FC at this point in the season. It's just before the summer break as well, so it's not the best time for driver activity within the league either. It always tends to pick back up again after the summer break. So fingers crossed, we'll see the team back in action, maybe with some new drivers in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, no satellite racing either, so hopefully we'll see, both those teams get the cars filled up again and get drivers into the seats for the coming out of the summer break. But on to the first race, and the rain from qualifying carried over, so we had a wet first race, and it was a real battle between the drivers, but ultimately it would be a Malta Force 1-2 with Alex Siebel taking the win from Wright Kilk. And for Kilk especially, Siebel will be happy to win, but Kilk to come back and to get second straight away, that's going to be a massive confidence booster.
Yeah, what a jump up the grid for Kilk as well to catch up with his teammate. Well, it was still far away, but at least he got second place. A great result for Kilk, and really just showed that he drove the socks off the car in that race to go from his mid grid position all the way up into the dizzying heights of second. I really hope he's pleased with that one, because that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was great for Kilk, and while Dennis Jordan and Boy Milan followed behind in the Evolution and TG racing cars, and it was Dino Paolini 5th and Stefan Ruwald 6th. So, again, not really many surprises in that top lot, though Milan will be happy with 4th.
Yeah, some again consistent drivers. Like I've already said, Jordan consistent, Paolini consistent. Milan though, definitely good for him, considering he's had a few podiums this year and been a pretty decent point scorer, but high up in the points this time around with that 4th place. Great job.
Did a good job indeed. Of course, Whoopie Hoaxer finishing 7th in the Measure racing car. Then Jason Muscat 8th in the Zederick. So again, maybe slightly further down than he would have liked, but at least he was consistent. He started that sort of, at least moved it up. He started 14th and then got up to 8th. So, not the best result in the world, but it's more crucial points. And Argenis Riera 9th and Anatoly Hanovic 10th. Both climbed to get to their places. Tobias Politek had a nightmare race. He went down to 11th.
Yeah, it all just seemed to go wrong for him, didn't he? He had to pit a couple of times as well, so that really didn't help for him. After that, it was all pretty much curtains. So what could have been a really promising result, perhaps he just wasn't quite ready for the rain, because, of course, he set his best time in qualifying in the dry, and then in the race it was a completely different matter because that rain was super duper heavy.
It was very heavy rain indeed, and while he may be caught blamed for politics for struggling a bit, Matt Strand, though, was 12th, gaining some more vital points for Satellite Racing. Then it was Chris Shepherd in 13th place, Edouard Batala 14th, and Tom Vandervoort rounding out the points. Batala and Vandervoort, both big climbers, 7 and 4 places respectively.
Yeah, both guys that managed to get in the points, of course, because there was no one else behind them to finish. But still, they got to the end of the race. That was the main thing. They managed to get there. They didn't give up, and they made it all the way through to the very bitter end. And that's the main thing, because that converted into points, and points is exactly what the teams are looking for right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, there'd be no points for Epic Racing, a double DNF for them, and those were the first of the non-finishers. Behind them were Edgar Reith, Michael Barnard, Dowie Tapper, and Wesley Stefano. So 6 cars not making the end in total. So, you know, a reasonably high attrition rate then, but the rain might have brought that on a bit.
Yeah, to be honest with you, with the level of rain it was, I'm actually surprised there wasn't more drivers retiring as well, considering how difficult it is at Hungary. Also, such a technical racetrack, and when it gets wet around there, it does get very difficult indeed, especially if you just go offline, which is so easy through some of those long sweeping corners. So to only see the 6 of them retire is not too bad. And shows that the field did a pretty good job as a whole of just keeping it out of the barriers.
Yeah, did a great job overall, and just to keep it out of the barriers sometimes is what you need to do in Supercup. And well, race 1 was good. How was race 2? Brilliant for Wupke Hoekstra. He took the race win in the 23-lap race, finishing in 37 minutes and 8 seconds. But 4.3 seconds behind, perhaps you could say it was as good for Boya Milan, because he got second.
Yeah, great result for both the drivers. First for Hoekstra, I think I remember saying last time around that after his race win in race 2 in Britain, to watch out for him, because once he starts winning, he can't stop. And he's already proven my point, because he's taken the race 2 win this time around as well. So great job for him. But Milan, yep, another incredible drive for him. And coming from further down on the grid as well, he was starting in 5th place. It wasn't like he was near the front anyway. He didn't benefit from a pole position, and he had some even quicker guys behind him, of course, after the reverse grid. So to be able to carve his way through the traffic during yet another rainy race to pick up that 2nd place is big points for him, big points for TG Racing.
Yeah, big for him, and obviously big for TG as well, for Medrick for getting the win. And then a 3rd, because Dino Paolini finished there. So 1-3 for Medrick, you know, really going to help them in the team's championship. Then the 4-5 of the Multiforce GP cars, Kilk from Siebel, right? Kilk actually beating his teammate, who obviously started ahead of and then stayed ahead of. And it wasn't much in it either, only about 7/10 of a second. So close-knit stuff between the Multiforce cars. Then it was Dennis Jordan in 6th place for Evolution, and then Stefan Ruolt 7th for Deltec. So a very consistent weekend for Ruolt, if not an entirely successful one.
Yeah, but I think sometimes he's probably been craving a bit of a consistent weekend. No podiums to show this time around. He's typically on the podium quite a few times, but not this time around, but good points nonetheless. And that just means that I think he's probably still in with a chance of the title this year, but he's going to probably just have to up his game a little bit more if he really wants to be serious about going for it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of consistency, Jason Muscat finished 8th, so 8th in race 1, 8th in race 2, though dropping 7 places from reverse grid pole. He won't be happy about this, because he's losing points now to the top guys.
Yeah, another guy who started off the season so well, and certainly looked like one of the main contenders for the title this year. It's all just slipping away from him at the moment. He has had a disastrous round this time around, but it's not been too good either. And like you said, the guys who are ahead of him in the championship also finished ahead of him in the race as well. So that's never a good thing when you're trying to recoup some of the points you've lost.
Yeah, that's not going to help your cause if you're losing points to the guys ahead of you. And, well, Jason Muscat might not have had a great race, but Edgar Reith certainly did, climbing 9 places from 18th to finish 9th. Tobias Politek finishing 10th in the Evolution upper place from 11th. Jeffrey Fournier, having not finished the first race, did finish the 2nd in 11th, so not a great weekend from the Frenchman, but still respectable results and getting himself crucial points, and for Epic Racing too. Edouard Batala climbed up to 12th place in the Racing Team shooting car. Then it was Anatoly Hranovic 13th and David Tapper in 14th place. He climbed 6 places, but for Tapper, you know, we know he's capable of so much more.
Yeah, he is, and in the past, he's certainly been a guy to pick up wins, and certainly a top five driver. So, just not quite happening for him at the moment. Hasn't really had an incredible result this year. I don't think he's even been on the podium either. So maybe just struggling a little bit with these cars, but I won't really say there's too much difference to last year's cars. So a bit of an odd one that.
Yeah, a bit of an odd one perhaps for Dawi Tapper, but yeah, maybe he'll pick up, maybe this was in his race, he'll pick up again in the second half of the season. But Matt Strand got the final point for Satellite Racing, and he'll be quite happy with that as well. Strand, constantly picking up points is a good thing. And well, Chris Shepard wouldn't actually finish this race. He would be the first of the retirements. There were 5 this race, of course, joined by Argenis Riera, Tom van der Voort, Rob Mason, and Michael Barnard. Rob Mason then not having a very good weekend with the double DNF.
Yeah, that's really surprising for Mason. He's a driver that usually manages to finish the majority of races that he's in, and very good at picking up points as well when he can. So he'll be really disappointed about that one to have a non-scoring round. And he's in a fight with quite a few drivers in the championship at the moment, and his team as well are really going to be looking to try and get a few more points. So a bit of a disappointment, but hopefully he can turn it around after the summer break.
Yeah, hopefully he can, because he's a great driver, Rob Mason. And, well, what results did those results have on the championship standings? Well, the implications are quite significant, because Alex Siebel is now at the top of the Drivers' Championship. That first and that fifth in Hungary has put him on 243 points, and he is 15 ahead of Dino Paolini now. So it is an all-German top 2 at the top of the Drivers' Championship, but they're closely chased by Jeffrey Fournier, just 12 points behind Paolini on 216, and on the same amount of points as Dennis Jordan, though Fournier's wins this season put him ahead on countback. Rookie Hoekstra is in 5th place at the moment on 208, and then just 1 point behind is Jason Muscat, who led, of course, the Drivers' Championship for a while, now down in 6th and 36 points behind Siebel. So Muscat, that these bad rounds have really hurt his Drivers' Championship standing.
Yeah, it's not been great for him at all, and he's not out of it yet. By no means, certainly not. He can turn it around when we get to the next round if he has a good couple of races. But that's the thing, that he can't really afford to have another bad round for a while now, because it's really getting to that critical point where I think drivers are either going to mount their title challenge or they're just going to drop off a little bit. And it looks like Siebel's certainly there. Paolini, of course, he had a great round as well. And even Hoekstra also getting some good haul of points in. They're the kind of drivers that at this point in the season, they're really starting to push on and go for it. And if Muscat's not careful, he's going to just be battling it out to try and get a top 5 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, perhaps so. He needs to really be careful here, Jason. But yeah, Stefan Roth 7th in the standings at the moment, obviously on 175 points. Then Tobias Politek on 169 in 8th. And then Boyan Milan, again, the same amount of points, but wins for Politek help him into a higher position. Milan 9th from 10th place for Antonio Halanovic. Then Dawi Tapper in 11th. Edgar Reith in 12th on 79 points. Then Ride Kilk, who's obviously probably hoping to make a full-time comeback now. Obviously, he's come back here at Hungary on 53 points from Matt Strand in 14th place on 49. And Ed Barbatala rounding out the top 15 on 46 points. So realistically, at the halfway point of this season, Sam, we're kind of looking at this top 8 as potential Drivers' Champions.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think maybe Ruart and Polotzek maybe just struggling a little bit to try and keep up with the top 6, but well, they could turn it around if they want to, and it's just going to take a good round, a win, and maybe a podium as well, and they'd be right back in it. But certainly, Seibel, Paolini, Fournier, Jordan, Hoekstra, and Muscat as well, as long as he just rebounds from this little blip in form. I think they're all really serious title contenders and all fantastic drivers in their own right.
Yeah, obviously top 6 there, really going to be starting to focus on the title perhaps after the summer break. And in the Teams Championship, it's obviously battles going on as well. Mesrick Racing leading now by quite a while. They're on 436 points, 51 points ahead of Evolution Motorsports in 2nd place on 385. Then they are 86 points ahead of Zederic Racing on 299. And then we got just 4 points from Motorforce GP. in 4th place, and then 46 points back on 249 is TG Racing in 5th. Epic Racing are 6th on 241 points. Then 7th is Deltec Racing Team on 192, 49 points back again. 8th place is Drake Racing, 55 points back on Deltec in 8th place. Then Racing Team Shorten in 9th on 91 points. Satellite Racing are 10th on 75, Hinds Motorsport 11th on 71. Cosmo Psyche are 12th on just 30 points, and SD Racing rounding out the field on 18 points. So again, Sam, we are still seeing close-knit battles, but Measuring and Evolution are starting to break away. It looks like Measuring are starting to run away with this.
Yeah, it looks as though it's the two teams that have got really quite consistent drivers picking up points just about every round at the moment, and that's really what's making those two the difference from the rest, which is a bit different, if I'm completely honest, to a lot of Supercup seasons that we've had in the past. It's typically been a team that's had one incredibly dominant driver and then another decent driver in the second car as well that's been able to take the Constructors' Championship. But I think that's just the way the season is going this year, that it's that close at the moment. There isn't really anyone that's pulling away from the rest of the field, and it just means that if you've got a couple of consistent guys that can get into the top 5 for the majority of the races, then you're going to be right up there as a team battling for the championship, and that's what Measuring and Evolution have got perfect so far.
Obviously, we've got this 3-4-5 battle between Zedric, Motorforce, and TJ as well going on. You know, not that many points in it total. So, you know, these three teams are going to be worrying about each other as well.
Yeah, they're all getting pretty close, aren't they? And I'd probably throw Epic in there in 6th place as well. They're also doing pretty decent, although they had not the best of rounds back in Hungary. So hopefully kind of bring that one back. And we've seen that with Fournier, how strong he's been this season. So certainly those guys are going to keep pushing each other, and we'll see whether one of them breaks away, if any of them fall behind, which could be the case in terms of Deltec, who aren't in that battle, who I feel they've kind of dropped out of a chance of being in the top 5 because they haven't really been able to field 2 drivers consistently through the season so far.
Yeah, that has been a trouble for several teams, especially looking down further down the grid. You know, no Satellite Racing this race, no Cosmo Psyche this race, and, you know, only one ST cars. You know, these teams down the bottom end of the order struggling to get the drivers in, perhaps. And while over the summer break, surely their focus is going to get in permanent drivers back in the seats.
Yep, that's the main thing really for this series, is getting 2 drivers in all the time. And of course, with the potential threat, it's not a definite threat because we never know quite what's going to happen. But the potential threat of, if you finish last in the series, you could get relegated. It may not happen. It depends on how many teams want to continue in Supercup for the next season. But certainly you wouldn't want to get pipped at the line because you failed to field 2 drivers. So teams like ST Cosmo, Satellite, and a couple of others like you mentioned, they just need to maybe just look for someone who's really committed to the league, really committed to Supercup, and maybe just really hungry to prove what they can do. That could really benefit a team if they can snap them up over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think that's really what I just need to be focusing on, those teams in this season break that we've got. The summer break, obviously, until the next race in Germany in 4 weeks' time. And, well, you might be wondering what we're going to be doing over that summer break. Well, we are going to be having a Supercup review show coming up in the summer break, so you're not going to get away from work that easily. But yes, the next episode of the Supercup show will be after the German Grand Prix. So until that time, I've been Josh Anderson, he's been Sam Jones, and from me and everyone here at SimNews.TV, it is a very warm goodbye.